No one for Bartlett?
Private line, I apologize.
Please step.
Good evening, my name is Walter Sullivan, I'm the attorney for the applicant on this project. With me is the applicant, Tom Macy, Sarah Macy, with Plymouth Development LLC, and also the project engineer, Kevin Flaherty. This is a request for a modification, a minor modification of the existing permit. There's a long history of this project that precedes me, although I recognize the board members 20 years ago.
Is your mic, is that yellow, green light on?
It is now.
There you go.
So I recognize that many of the board members know a lot more about this project than do I. I'll be very brief on the history of it. It was originally a comprehensive permit issued in 2005, applied for in 2005. There was appeals to the HAC, 2 phases to the project, and phase 1 was 20 units, and phase 2 was 40 units. After resolution of the appeals through the HAC and the town council and my predecessor for the applicant, phase 1 has been constructed. Of the 20 units, 17 have been built. 5 of them are affordable. That phase 1 had an age restriction upon it. One of the resolutions of one of the appeals, as I understand it, was that phase 2 would not be age restricted. We're seeking, in order to move forward with phase 2, a modification of 3 of the component parts of that approval. The first is a relocation of the open space area. This is being done to increase open space and agricultural designation and also to provide more buffer to abutting properties. This was done in consultation with abutting properties and with support of them. Additionally, the road length, because of the repositioning, is being reduced and there's less pavement. I think probably those 2 things in a traditional subdivision could be cared for with, I would suggest, a as-built plan. However, we are also seeking to add to the existing 40 units 4 3-bedroom units. Phase 1 was all 2-bedroom units, and the reason for that is because under the new HAC regulations, in a non-age restricted 40B development, there have to be a component portion of 10% that are 3-bedroom units. Hence, we are seeking to have 1 of the 3-bedroom units that would be affordable and the other 3 would be fair market value. I've submitted, along with our request, the new interagency agreement promulgated by the DHCD and Mass Housing, which spells out that requirement, and also an email from the Mass Housing representative indicating that if we do not, in phase 2, have 3-bedroom units, that the units might not count towards the SHI for the town. So we're seeking to have those 3 things modified in the decision. Be happy to answer any questions. I have Mr. Flaherty here who can respond to any questions about the road or the open space. Thank you very much.
Well, I was looking at the plan, so I see where on one of them where you were talking about the open space, there was a turnaround there in 3 lots. So that is more of a subtraction. Are you changing the road? I didn't see where you were changing the road layout.
I'd like to defer this to the project engineer, who's way more knowledgeable about that, if it's the pleasure of the board. Thank you. Mr. Flaherty.
Thank you. Kevin Flaherty from Flaherty and Stefani. I'll see if I can just find a slide quick. We're not going to be able to move it. Denise, do you mind just bumping up to the kind of the, not the existing, but the current proposal? Right in there is good. So it's almost an identical layout. What the previous kind of concept had in mind was a little bit of a longer loop that went all the way around, and then also had a cul-de-sac that came off towards the open space down by Bartlett Brook, kind of in that top left corner of the plan. We were able just to, using the exact same dimensional, we're not asking for any sort of different dimensional standards than what was previously approved. Kind of shorten up the road. Right by, as you get into the newer section on that left side, is kind of a steep slope that runs towards the back of those Brook Road houses. The attempt is to avoid building any houses in that area to prevent any runoff from going in that direction like the previous plan had. So we're going to leave that as open space and, just reduce the road all the way around a little bit. It's just been, to be honest with you, it's just been tweaked here and there to make sure we had all the requirements met.
But how much changes have been made to the roads? I mean, my concern is that, they haven't gone through review what you're changing.
No, part of the process is going to be that we're going to have a whole clean bill of health from the DPW before any sort of tree cutting or anything else is done that way. Because the road and the proposed roads, even from the original plan, weren't ever designed all the way through. It was more of a conceptual layout design to come back future, whenever they were ready to start phase 2. So but again, we'll meet all the standards and all the requirements from the DPW.
Okay. I'll let somebody else know.
No, I had the same questions on the road, so I'm all set.
Okay. Yes. Yes, please.
Went back to my notes. All right, so the 10%, so what you were saying, because one of my questions was going to be, was what changed? I mean, the original plan, you didn't have that 10% as a 3-bedroom, so it's because of the change that we made, or the modification last time.
Yeah, we've been told by Mass Housing that if we don't have 4 3-bedroom units in this phase, that they can't approve it and have it qualify for the 10%. If we do this, it will qualify, and there should be an email in your package from us confirming that from Mass Housing.
So basically, modifying the last time we modified is what made this change. Yeah.
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay.
Wow.
And we're being asked if it's
Substantial.
substantial or not substantial, okay.
Do you want to have counsel opine on it?
Yes, and I should have done that right in the beginning. I would like to have town council talk a little bit about this case, what our options are, and what our responsibilities are.
Of course, Mr. Chair, for the record, Haley Wright Weiss, Town Council. So they have submitted certain changes. What they're seeking is a modification of the comprehensive permit. Your decision tonight is to decide whether their requested modifications are substantial or insubstantial. The Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities gives fairly limited guidance on what is actually considered a insubstantial or substantial modification to a comprehensive permit. They provide some examples. So, for example, changes that are considered substantial are an increase of more than 10% in the height of buildings, an increase of more than 10% in the number of housing units proposed, a reduction in the size of the site more than 10% in excess of any decrease in number of housing units proposed, et cetera. And then matters generally considered insubstantial or not substantial would be a reduction in the number of housing units proposed, a decrease of less than 10% floor area of individual units, a change in the number of bedrooms within individual units if such changes do not alter the overall bedroom count or the proposed housing by more than 10%, a change in color, style, material used, stuff of that nature. So where you're looking for guidance, it's based on what the EOHLC says and whether the changes that they're requesting fit more within those examples.
Okay.
And then, of course, so your options tonight are to vote and deem it in the request insubstantial, in which case the changes are automatically incorporated into the comprehensive permit. Or if you deem it substantial, we would schedule a full public hearing on the modification.
Thank you.
Of course.
Mr. Sylvia, please weigh in.
I think our attorney here has done a good job at pointing out, line in the sand that you can jump on either side now. So, all I'll point out in the specifics is that I believe, if I'm not correct, that the lot count, the housing lots are the same. That I believe there is some change in the size of the homes. It's not just in a change of a room into a bedroom, so there is some change in the physical layout of the roadway and configurations of roadways and drainage that could require additional review. So I would, in my opinion, if there are any changes that require discretion or review, it would be in those changes to everything except for the spatial changes, the road configuration changes, the lot size changes. But because a building is going from a den to a bedroom does not represent, in my opinion, anything substantial.
Thank you. Michael?
One question, does this change the bedroom counts at all? I know when she said that.
So yes, the bedroom count is changing by 4, so it's still 60 units. It's the exact same number of affordable. It's the exact same square footage, the exact same acreage. We are including in the 60 units 4 additional bedrooms, because it was all approved for 2-bedroom units. But there's no changes in the exterior of the units, no changes in the footprints whatsoever.
Yes, Ed.
So prior to tonight, there was 120 bedrooms approved.
That's my understanding, that's correct, yep.
So how many bedrooms is it going to?
It's going to be 124.
And then in relation to square footage, would you know how much the square footage was?
It's identical to what was in the comprehensive permit. And I don't recall off the top of my head, no, but I could find it for you pretty
So
quickly.
it's you're saying the prior square footage is the same as what's proposed?
Yeah, we're not increasing the square footage of any of the units.
No, it's been designed to build, just like I think somebody mentioned, the same exact unit that was built in the first phase. Instead of an opening wider for an office or whatever it may be to, prevent it from being a bedroom, it's going to be, could be used as a bedroom. But that's just for those 4 units. But the model and the architecturals haven't changed at all.
So you're changing the 4 bedrooms, and then size remains the same. And then roadways, are we added any miles, or like, how are we gonna measure the roadways in relation to change?
So when we come back in or when we submit to the DPW, it's really, the loop is almost identical. The spacing on the lot doesn't allow for anything too different than what's already been proposed. What they had on the original, there's 2 lots in that northwest side up that way, and they had a cul-de-sac that created frontage that way. So instead of building that row that was on this plan, all that's going to remain open space.
So what
So it's
happens
gonna be
to
a
those
reduction.
2 lots?
Those 2 lots have been incorporated into the whole design. So part of the open space from the previous plan had open space inside the development, inside the loop. We've used that space to kind of be able to consolidate the lots a little bit to provide open space for the neighbors and for down by Bartlett Pond.
Go ahead.
So you're taking what was open space inside and putting it up in the top right,
Correct. Part
top
of it we're going to
left-hand
be
corner.
using for that first on the left-hand side, going down towards Brook Road.
And what's the access to that open space? How are you
The
gonna
access would have, that whole access would be frontage on, right on the road, Pasture Hill Road, the first open space. The open space that's in the back is going to have a gravel driveway to it, because it's going to be used also for the drainage area, just like it was in the proposed plans. So back there will be drivers, because we have to provide that for drainage and, any sort of cleaning at that point. From a DPW standard, we'd have to require that.
But I don't see the plans for the drainage on there.
Can you see, again, I'm pretty far from here, there's a
Yeah.
little bit of a strip.
Yep.
I believe it's a 25-foot wide strip.
Okay.
Right on that cul-de-sac there. And that extends back into that open space that goes down towards Bartlett Pond.
Okay.
And then the rest of the open space, like I said, would have frontage all along the roadway that we're going to be building. That's more of a protective for the neighbors, to give them more of a buffer, instead of putting houses like they were on the proposed, on the original approved.
So, let me ask you, Kevin, if you lose 2 lots, 26 and 27, and you now, and there were gonna be 2 houses on that, where are those 2 houses now?
So we reconfigured all these, so the lots that are up there are all dimensionally meet exactly all the requirements per the approved plan. So all those lots, we kind of shifted all the way around, you know, tightening up frontage a little bit on this area, making sure we had the setbacks from the houses that were built in the first phase. And we also used that open space there in the middle. So they had kind of a big block on the old plans right in the middle next to that drainage basin that we were able to slide 3 or 4 of the houses in, as well as tightening up the loop as we went around. But we won't be asking for any sort of relief from dimensional requirements, frontage, width, or anything like that. There's gonna be 40 new lots,
So there's 40 new lots?
just like it was on the,
20 in phase 1 and 40 in this phase.
correct. So the previously approved plan had 40 lots. We matched that number right on.
All right. So prior to you coming here, how many lots were approved total?
60 for the entire project.
How many lots are approved now?
So 20 have been constructed in the first phase, and there's 40 for the second phase. And it was,
So it's the same number.
it's the exact same number of dwellings.
So we have, you took off 2 of the lots, but you added them in other areas?
We kind of used the space that they had designated as kind of a rough open space in the middle for that, and then we also tightened up some of the frontage as we went around to gain a little bit more space. There's a few more lots that we were able to slide, and they had a roadway back there as well. So they had a 40-foot wide roadway that we were able to use that as part of the frontage on the loop.
Is each lot the same size?
On this
Square foot?
proposed plan? No,
Yeah.
the areas vary slightly. There was a relief granted back on the previous comprehensive permit from 20,000 to 10,000 square feet. All of the new proposed lots are above that 10,000 square feet.
How much was in lot 26 and lot 27?
I don't have that. Those were significantly bigger lots. I don't have that exact acreage though for you.
So I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to do an analysis of what was taken away and what was added in relation. We took 2 lots away. So I'm trying to figure out the square footage of those in relation to overall, what do we have now? Because that comes to, because I'm looking at, is it substantial or not?
For building area?
Like, the square footage we took to, the building area is going to remain the same. So I'm not talking, right?
Yes.
So the building areas, we're not talking about building area. So I'd like to know in square footage of the 2 lots, how much it's being taken away. And I know that we took away, because we took away those 2 lots, we took away square footage from open space, and then we took away, you needed up some corners or whatever your line was for some other lots. So, so I'm trying to figure that out, because it looks like we have 4 bedrooms have been increased. So you went from 120 to 124. The roadway, it doesn't really sound like there's too much done on the roadway. We did take away, 1 second. Is she going to add anything or something?
I'm not sure what she's.
All right, well, we'll wait. Maybe she's going to help us out somehow.
Well, so what my client is indicating is Phase 2 was sort of a conceptual, because it hadn't really been approved. So although each lot had to be at least the 10,000 square feet, I don't think the lots were actually measured out until we got to revising Phase 2. So from Phase 1, and the original plan that was submitted, Phase 2, the lots all hadn't been configured, other than we knew, or the engineer knew, that they were over 10,000 square feet. But that hasn't changed, but I don't know that we have the calculation from lots 26 and 27, Mr. Conway.
So phase 2, they're saying is conceptual? I thought this was approved, that it wasn't conceptual. Am I misunderstanding?
It's my understanding they returned to the board as a result of the letter from the state on the bedroom issues.
So I'm trying to figure out what was approved prior and what's approved, they're approving, and whether phase 2 was just conceptual, that it wasn't, it didn't give a,
Not a chance.
Yeah, those plans, I don't have any of those plans that are, or I haven't reviewed any plans recently that would indicate how definitive they had approvals, but it was my understanding that they had approvals from this board to construct this phase under an existing special permit with just, informals, if any, required. And that as a result of the change in the bedroom count, that they're looking for a determination that is this particular change substantial or not. And so as it stretches away from the bedroom count change or what the letter from the state, I can't weigh in on that.
because to determine if it's substantial or insubstantial, we have to figure out square footage and lot size and what was approved prior, because it doesn't appear, I don't think that putting 4 bedrooms is a big deal. The roadway stays the same, so I think it comes down to, besides these 2 lots being taken out, the roadway's being modified, there's 4 bedrooms, is there anything else being modified here?
No.
So I think it comes down on my analysis on the lot 26 and 27 being taken away, what's happening to that.
So can I speak very
Sure,
quickly?
sure.
So that area is not being taken away from the overall project. That area is becoming open space. So it's not, we're not reducing lot areas to do something with future development or anything like that down the road. It's really just, we were able to make it work where it was financially beneficial for the developer not to build additional road and also provide open space that would go down by Bartlett Pond. But the area in total has not changed.
So, you're taking the open space inside the cul-de-sac, you're moving it to lot 26 and 27.
Correct.
Is the acreage in the open space the same?
So
That's-
the open space, the open space is larger now. There's more square footage of open space on our plan than what was previously approved by this board.
Michael?
Mr. Chair, if I could point out, I think that the units that are required by the state to make those changes in and of themselves don't require any of these other changes to roadways or lot configurations. They are in and of themselves separate requests for all intents and purposes, and the board could look at it that way. These roadway changes aren't requested from the state, and so therefore they're compiled together in this request. And so I just want to point that out.
Here's my concern. And this started when I first got on the board, and I'm going to rely on Peter an awful lot to this. When we did this, Peter, wasn't it that this plan was approved, and this was a plan?
Yes.
Okay, so now you're coming in and asking that an approved plan that's filed and gone through everything, you call it a conceptual. It's not a conceptual plan. It is a plan for that project, period, that was accepted by this board. Secondly, if you modify that plan, you're modifying curb cuts, you're modifying lot sizes, you're modifying a whole bunch of things. And so, this is just my opinion. I think this is pretty substantial, the road work. The bedroom count doesn't bother me, because we're going to have to eat that anyway. That's what the state says. But the state also says that we need a definitive plan. And we don't have a definitive plan, in my estimation. I'll let the rest of the board speak to that. You?
Mike?
Yes.
So a couple questions I got in my mind is, okay, so these open space, by these plans you handed us, the current ones, you're going to have two sections that 27 and so on and so forth, and one lower as you come in?
Correct.
Right. Now, both of those deed restricted, so,
Yeah, both of those will be deed restricted as unbuildable and part of the homeowners association.
okay, all right. Because I know what you're saying, Mike, but then when it really comes down to it is, so let's say we go substantial, they come back before us, what are we gonna ask for? I mean, it's,
We're gonna ask for an updated plan. We're gonna ask for
well,
the
he's got
lot-
those here.
The lot sizes, the curb cuts, where the water mains are gonna be, all of that stuff. How much does that change? Can we just say, nah, it's good enough? Good enough is for amateurs.
Yeah, point.
I'm just saying, because these plans go to the court, and someday, somebody's gonna take something out, and I don't want this town to have to go to court and fight anything because we didn't cross every T and dot every I. But it's up to the board.
If I may, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'd just like to remind the board that obviously we have to satisfy the DPW and the engineering department, and that.
Please speak into the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. We obviously have to satisfy the DPW and the engineering department, so that it's not like there's no further review. We have to have all of the requirements that satisfy the municipal services and the building inspector. So we're not out of review, but I think the original plan that was submitted with a comprehensive permit even sort of referred to Phase 2 as a conceptual plan. I understand the chair's concern. I would suggest to you that if this was a traditional subdivision in the planning board, and it's anecdotal, okay? It's something you could cure with an as-built plan.
The planning board has nothing to do with this.
I understand. I said it was anecdotal. I'm just saying, I think in terms of defining these as a minor deviation, because I think that's what they are, I think that is not uncustomary. That would be my observation.
Well, we'll let the board determine that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
although I'm not voting on this, since I'm a visual person, this review would be greatly improved if you had a drawing of sort of before and after in the same footprint with different colors and showing what the future Phase 2, all the property lines, all the properties overlaid with the new proposed one. And you'd see just visually the degree of change across, it's all living within the same boundaries, but the degree of change. And my guess is you'd see modest adjustments in almost all of the parcels, but it's hard to jump from one drawing to another to compare them. So that's,
Especially on a 10-inch, 15-inch screen
yeah.
on,
But anyway, that's a suggestion to
Okay.
assist the review to see the degree of change on the property lines. You can certainly understand it conceptually, but you have to flip back and forth on the 10-inch screen to understand it. Just a
Okay.
suggestion.
all right. Peter?
Well, I was thinking it was insubstantial, but based on comments made, I tend to change my mind a little bit. David makes a good point, a real good point. That would be 10,000 times easier if we could just, if we saw an overlay of everything that had been moved here. And I think most everything has been shifted, fair to say?
Yeah, and very minor, like you said. It's just.
Well, I mean, what did you picked up 3 feet here?
Yeah,
4
exactly.
feet here?
It was just kind of a numbers game where we went around the road, we made the loop of the road, and we extended it to make sure we had enough to get the frontage per the previously approved comprehensive permit.
Yeah.
We weren't going to ask any relief different than what was already given back in 2005. So it was really, you know, what better, we tried to come up with a superior design, basically, to be able to reduce the road length and provide more
Yeah, I
open
don't,
space.
I don't think there's anything wrong with what you've asked for, but I do think where everything's
It would-
been shifted.
well, The one thing, okay, so I'm just gonna put a couple things here. Okay, so insubstantial is substantial. Substantial's gonna go through another public hearing, which, to be honest with you, I don't think really we need that much comment from the public, because again, it really hasn't changed all that much. You know, you're talking a minimal bedroom count, you're talking basically the same lots. They're getting more open space, which is actually a plus. And the two lots that they took out were big lots, so that's quite a bit of open space. I mean, I'd rather have them come back informally after they've, you know, satisfied DPW and stuff like that to make sure that we're satisfied, but I'd be willing to call it insubstantial myself.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about the bedroom counts. I appreciate the answer on the open space. I am concerned about roadway changes and not having DPW comments, so I'd be willing to go along with what Mr. Leary is discussing.
Just like, I don't think there's much issues with the bedroom count. Same amount of open space overall, maybe a little more. And it'd be helpful if we had the difference of the, comparing the old plan to the new plan for the roadways. I think it comes down to the roadways. I'm looking at it as insubstantial right now.
So,
One question. The roadway's about the same, right?
Yeah, it really.
You're not changing the roadway.
No, we're talking couple feet here, a couple feet. There's just not much else you can do with
Keep
it.
telling me that couple.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know how much.
What
I'm
is
trying to
it,
minimize. But I don't want to make that, but again, it's all, if you looked at, again, I don't know if Denise can go to the next slide. If you kind of compare the two, I wish I had a better now and then, but they're really in the same location. It's really just the lots have been moved around. That's all it was.
So,
I don't know if it's.
I
it's
hear what
okay.
you're saying.
Yeah.
And what Kevin's saying.
me too.
Can we do that?
Well, I'm going to throw something out here.
We can ask town council, I guess.
If we did this as an insubstantial change with the condition that first it's peer-reviewed by whoever the town picks at your cost.
Sure.
Second, that the DPW signs off on everything. Thirdly, and I really mean this, that the fire department, again, looks at all the circulation, because that is really important. Okay? With those conditions, we could probably get away with it insubstantial. But other than that, any other way, it's a substantial change.
See what she says.
At town council.
How does that,
Ms. Riefeis, want to weigh in on that one?
So, sorry, Mr. Chair, are you asking whether you can condition the vote for an insubstantial modification? In my opinion, yes, you can condition, you can basically grant the vote as an insubstantial modification, subject to conditions of peer review, DPW approval, and I believe you're also looking for fire department review.
how does that sound to this board?
That sounds good.
I like that, because again, the other alternative, we go substantial, it just involves having the public, and I don't really see where this kind of a change makes that much of a difference to what we would eventually pass. So-
When did we start this? 2005?
Yeah, I know.
I was on 23 years, I got off, I'm back on, and you're still around.
Yep.
But with that said, it has gotten better every time, and it is a good development. I mean, I know the neighbors down there don't like it, we understand all that, but I'm all for that. If we can do that, and you're comfortable, you can live with that?
We can.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Well, now I must admit that I'm not bright enough to have come up with that myself. We can thank our boss. because she mentioned things like this today to me.
Oh, no, we're not thanking her.
There you go.
I await the board's pleasure.
I'll make a motion that we declare this or name it insubstantial with, how many conditions?
3.
3 conditions.
I would second that motion.
Okay, so the motion will be that, 1, the project is peer-reviewed by the town's peer reviewer. 2, that the DPW signs off on all changes, and if they don't sign off, I think I want to put a 4th condition in there, and that's occupancy permits. No occupancy permits until all of these conditions are satisfied. These are the 3 conditions.
That'll be fine. In phase 2.
For phase 2.
For, Mr. Chair, that would be for phase 2, which is what we're here on.
For phase, yeah, right.
For phase.
That, the houses are up in phase
Yes,
1.
yes.
And the peer review would be
Bill.
just to measure what was there against what they're asking for.
Yes.
Not to start all over again. or
Oh,
whatever.
no, 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 no.
Okay.
Just these changes that they're asking to make to the original plan. And we want those plans all marked up. And I would like very much to see an overlay like David suggested when you come back.
They're not coming back.
You don't want them to come back?
No, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
But we would certainly, we can copy whatever we send to peer review to this office, if that would make sense, the board.
I mean, if the peer review, and if they're all happy, I don't see why they need to come back to us.
We'll leave that in Jason's hands.
Right.
Okay. You're the man.
Well, the one thing I would like to just point out is that the board wants to condition certain requirements on occupancy based upon, like, as an example, if I'm hearing correctly, Department of Public Works, some of those conditions that are addressed by those groups can't be met immediately. They're looking for their first occupancy, and some of that work is done later into a project, maybe some of the infrastructure. And so, just to point out to the board that we are faced with many circumstances with the requirement to say no occupancy until something's done, but the applicant realistically can't get those things done until maybe another 3rd or 4th house, as an example. Once in a while that comes up. So we will be working with, I'm sure, the applicant to try to meet the intent of the board in its truest sense, but there are times at which, just because of general construction, that we can't in good faith hold something back when it's not the applicant's fault.
Yeah, reasonable. That's just reasonable. Well, we have a motion by Mike and a second by Peter with 4 conditions. All those in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. Go right ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, members of the board. Thanks, council.
Good job, Attorney Rayface.
My pleasure.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, this is a return, and Denise, I closed public comment on this, didn't I? On this case?
4161,
Yes.
79 Naughty Pine. Yes.
Okay. So on these next 2 cases, there will be no public comment, as it's already been closed, and we're not allowed to do that once it's been closed. This is just for board discussion for a condition. So, first of all, Who is presenting? Please. Yes.
Can I just ask a question? But people cannot make comment, but everyone should know that you guys, I'm not on it, but you're in receipt of some correspondence that's
Yes.
legal on this thing, okay?
And the
From
correspondence
neighbors, yeah, okay.
that we were in receipt of that was in time, I've taken into consideration, Michael, I'm sure we've all read, the stuff that came in today or late yesterday or whenever, we got that 7-day thing that we have to go by. And so I don't really want to get into that when we haven't even had time to really. Okay. So,
Who's on this?
this one. Naughty Pine. So, sitting on this is Mr. Leary, Mr. O'Reilly, Mr. Conroy, and Mr. Peck, and myself. Now, go right ahead. I'm sorry.
Hi, guys. My name is Kyle Hanrahan. I'm here representing Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors. I also have our client, Norm Stillman, and the architect for the project, Jeff Metcalf, is here with me. We received your comments on the last meeting, and Norm and Jeff have sat down, reviewed the plans, reviewed what exactly he needs for his purposes and what the minimum we can do here is, and made revisions to the plans as such. And I'm just going to have Jeff come up and talk a little bit about the changes that were made.
Okay, you had a question on the ownership of the road. Is it?
Yeah, that's, we settled it last.
Okay, and Ed had some questions on the planning board didn't approve. Why? Height and size? What was the reason? Okay, so we have some new submissions with some drawings and stuff. Would you care to comment?
No, I'll let him go through his presentation first.
Go right ahead.
Good evening, everyone.
For-
This-
Just for the record, your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name's Jeff Metcalf. I'm the architect on the project. And so the last time we were here, there was some discussion about the size of the building and trying to make it a little bit more, fitting with the area and maybe perhaps a little bit more residential looking. So I don't know if we can slide up to the. So the first drawing there, we wanted to point out that the rear portion of the plan is segmented and separated by 4 feet, 4-foot increments. And so the left rear section is actually underground. So from up above, the building is actually, from the view there, is 4 feet farther away from the building behind it. It's pulled back the additional, so the neighbor's cottage is 4 foot farther away from the other cottage. Now, the other thing, if we go to the next, if you look at the elevations, so the roof has been pushed down by a foot, and so its rear elevation is almost flush to the ground, and it further decreases the obstruction of the neighbor's view from the cottage. So that portion is pushed down, and then on the northern face, there is a series of windows that's been added, and the other is the landscaping has been increased around the perimeter and at the front as well. And if we go to the next, we've done some 3D modeling to show you the the changes and the additional landscaping around the building. And those, for the most part, are the changes that we made.
Go ahead, Mike. Questions? No question? Exactly how much space did you deduct, take out of there? I think that's probably better for Jeff than...
Yeah, so the bump out that we've moved underground was a 4-foot by 16-foot area, so that would be 64 square feet of the building structure will no longer be above ground, so that'll be the roof area removed as well and pulled away from the neighbor, and then the 1-foot reduction in roof height across the whole thing.
Questions?
I will say I have no questions. I will sort of commend the submission in that it clarified things. It gave us lots of visuals to make judgments. So it's a good response in terms of clarifying what your current intent is. But I have no questions. Just want to commend the visuals and, you know, the thought that went into it.
It's important from an architect's point of view. Michael?
Well, I mean, I have opinions. I voted to pass this last time, but the one thing I do want to point out is, so this particular area is rural residential, but it was basically, you know, the town just took a wide brush pen and, you know, because it's out there in the middle of nowhere, drew a big circle and called it rural residential. But when you go out to Boot Pond, it's like every other pond around here. They really should have designated that area as small lot. I mean, let's face it, there isn't anything out there rural residential about that, this neighborhood at all. So I don't have any objections to it myself. I'll go with what the board.
No, you may recall my concern was on the landscaping between the back of the garage and the neighbor's property, and thank you for including that.
Ed,
I'd like to ask the applicant a question.
please.
Is there any part of the driveway that's being used by the neighbor, or your driveway being used by the neighbor? Sure, you can take a look up there.
Hello, my name's Norm Stillman. I'm the resident of 79 Knotty Pines. My neighbor's driveway does cross my land for about 30 feet or so, and the part of the driveway that's closest to the structure is my portion of the driveway.
Excuse me, for the record, please, we need your name.
He said it.
Oh, did he?
He did, yeah.
I'm sorry, my name's Norm Stillman. I live at 79 Knotty Pines. And
My ears weren't working, I was writing.
mine either.
You get my age, you can't do two things at once.
But I was responding that the portion of the driveway which is closest to my proposed structure is the part that crosses my land, and so the proposed garage is actually adjacent to my neighbor's driveway that crosses over my land, about 30 feet or so.
Does the neighbor have an easement to cross over your land?
So I went to the Registry of Deeds and asked the public servant there to do a search for me, and she searched back.
This should be, you shouldn't be asking them, it's who's the engineer here? Because the plan should show if there's an easement or not. Is there an
We
easement?
did not find any easements. Our survey research didn't pull anything up as any record easements, no located or just word easements.
So
across the road.
both of you two have a major title issue, where you're encroaching, you're the subservient easement holder, implied, and you're the dominant. And if a buyer or seller, a buyer wants to buy either your property, you have a major issue from, I'm a real estate attorney, I wouldn't loan you money. And I think that, I think in order for me to approve this, I want a mutual easement to be drafted and approved by the parties. So I'm going to reject this unless they can straighten out the boundaries and have a plan that says that 30 feet of your driveway is being used by your neighbor. And so I'm not going to move forward with this plan until this title issue is resolved. So I don't want to sign off as a zoning board member with this title issue.
Understand. Kevin?
No, good catch, Ed, as usual.
Peter? Oh, Peter's not on.
David.
David?
Well, I still think it's too big. So I personally, when we talked about it last time, I was looking for more significant changes, perhaps 2 bays instead of 3. This has 12 by 14 foot overhead doors, so it looks like a commercial garage. If you look at the images and the size of the man door, this has a big front. It presents as an oversized building in a rural residential area. So I am going to vote against it because I just think it's way too big for this particular location.
Okay, so Ed. Wants title.
Buster, can I ask a question, Buster?
Yes, please.
So, both of you two have a problem with the easement, and it needs to be fixed. And would you two be willing to share the cost, because both have your problems, with drafting an easement agreement to put it on record? I'm asking both of you right now, but they got to both come up to the microphone.
Yes, I'd be willing to share that cost
All right, thank you.
and to grant the easement.
All right, fine.
To be honest, I'm not really sure.
Excuse me, please identify
Sure.
yourself.
My name is Nick Casivalon. I'm married to Gretchen Wiseman, and it's the Wiseman property that abuts the property at issue in the case. And my honest answer is I don't know enough about the issue to...
Are you an owner, sir?
I'm married to an owner.
Okay, you're irrelevant. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine.
That was rather
Very
very direct.
Are you an owner, ma'am? Are you an owner?
I am an owner.
Thank you.
I am Gretchen Wiseman. And I guess I'm going to say the same thing, that I don't know enough. I'm just hearing about this right now. I would like to work with my neighbor to come up with a mutually acceptable plan. We have been trying to work together. So I would like to come up with a plan to work with him. I will do, what you ask of me.
So this is a little separate. So we have an issue where your neighbor wants to build a garage, but at the same time, it's discovered that he could block you from going over his driveway. He could put up a fence to stop that. But you have big litigation go on for 5 years and cost about each party $75,000. That's my estimate. So you have a problem. No, you cannot approach.
No, please.
You've got to sit down. So
Jesus, this is getting out of hand.
I'm not going to approve this until you guys have to figure this out. And so we have one side, and you're in a bad position here, ma'am. So, all right, that's all I have to say for tonight. Thank you.
Would you please come to the microphone? You have heard what has been proposed, and apparently you're willing to grant an easement, have surveyors come out, do the whole thing at partial the cost. I don't know, do we go forward with a condition like that?
We can't go forward with
We
it.
have put in plenty of issues where we made them do easements to allow us to go forward. And I remember that Bob Betters would show up with the easement document in these hearings before we approved the case.
Right.
Because I would want to see the easement language. And so sorry about that. So, yes, so it's 100% a condition that we have a mutual agreement, that we have an easement. 100%.
Okay. Yes. Yes, we have town council sitting here. Aren't you lucky? Please.
So, Mr. Chair, you're asking whether you can condition the approval of the special permit based on a request for a request that they receive an easement from the two neighbors receive an easement, or are you requesting that you continue this until they get the easement?
Ed?
What the request is, I believe from Buster, is if we approve this, it's conditional upon having an easement recorded to make this plan work. I can answer. You
I
can't,
mean,
but-
if the applicant is amenable to that, I would say you could condition it that way, but it's difficult because you're conditioning it based on another party who's not subject to this board's authority because they're not here on anything.
So our granting of this of this plan is conditioned on an easement.
I can live with that.
We have to.
But I'll be honest with you, I think if we're gonna do that, we have to continue it.
Yeah.
I don't think we should approve it with a condition that somebody that isn't even attached to it, you see what I'm saying? I wouldn't feel comfortable, I think we need to.
easement.
Right.
Yes.
I
you
can say something?
I'm
Yeah,
going to
just-
allow that. Yes, I'm going to allow that because he's the eldest statesman. Oh, he can, oh, yeah.
Killing me, he's killing me.
Had to come up with something.
Just based on what Ed was saying, our past practices have been exactly what he says. And all these years, that's been the successful way to do with it, deal with it. And I don't think you go forward with this until that is ironed out. There's too much in front of you there until that gets ironed out, I think. That's my opinion, but I'm not voting.
I kind of agree with that. Ed?
Sounds good. And one idea is you don't need her approval to grant her an easement.
It's your property.
It's your property, you can do what you want with it. But you're certainly being nice. You're being more than nice. Like you're being Jesus nice.
Okay. So Ed, I await your motion.
We only make the motion in the, so it'd be a motion to approve,
No, a motion to continue.
or motion to continue.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, motion to continue.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll second it.
One question?
Yes?
So, we're only allowing this motion to continue so we can see a draft easement agreement and a plan that shows the easement on it. So we are not addressing the size of the modification right now. But I think it'd be nice,
You're bringing up a good point.
so I'd like to think it'd be nice to, not necessarily nice, it may be prudent, to feel how the board feels, we don't have to, about what's in front of us tonight, so that, since we're continuing this anyways, so that we can voice our opinions on whether it's too big, it's fine, or not. It's up to the, it's
I
up-
kind of poll, and we know where David stands. Well, you were nice enough to explain that. So now, Michael, what would your feelings be?
Well, I did explain mine. I mean, again, this is only in rural residential because town took a wide brush and drew a big, space out there. But when you look at what's around Blue Pond, it should have been a small lot. I mean, God's sake, there isn't anything out there rural about it. I don't have a problem what he has proposed. I mean, there's other ways of doing it, but I don't think it needs to go that way. So I'm fine with it.
Kevin?
As I mentioned, my concerns with the landscaping were addressed, and if we can address Ed's concern, I'm still fine with it.
Okay, Ed?
I'm fine with it as long as we get the easement on record.
Oh, I hate this. Actually, I'm pretty well with it, too. Wants to utilize his property. It's not unreasonable. That is my opinion. So I am glad you did that, Ed, to want to poll the board.
And originally, I had said mutually agreed upon, split by the parties. I don't want that in our condition. I just wanted to say
An
an
easement.
easement to be recorded and to
For
be approved.
access.
Yeah, for access.
Yeah, okay. So the motion,
Mr. Chair, if I may, that would alleviate my concern that I had with it.
good, thank you. Okay, so we have a motion for case number 4161 to continue this hearing for the proponent to get paperwork done for to grant an easement of access to his neighbor. And I will let the legal people work out the exact language of that, but that's the essence of it. And it is, from the pulse of the board, it feels as though they are pretty much in favor. Your landscaping issues were addressed. Your legal is being addressed. Your height, I think, was a question.
Yeah, there was some road questions, but we answered those last time. so.
Okay. You don't have any questions?
That's a good thing.
And your concerns apparently have been met?
Well, I will say, whether we vote late, I remain against this particular petition because I think it's too big for the neighborhood. So I'm not quite sure whether my better vote is to vote against the continuation or support the continuation, but it's not going to change my vote.
Well,
That's fair.
very fair, because by the sounds of the vote,
Right.
of the board, the
Yeah.
vote isn't really going to be that substantially changed.
It won't change. And I think even a 4-to-1 vote would still continue it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Ed, and who seconded it?
I'll second it.
Kevin. Kevin.
Yeah, Mike.
May I just ask, if we were to vote tonight, could we condition that our client grants that easement if it isn't reliant on the abutter in a mutual agreement and it's just upon our applicant? Would that be acceptable to the board as a condition for a vote tonight?
The normal practice is for us to see the easement. But,
And I'd be comfortable.
and the thing is they're unrepresented by counsel. And if they were represented by counsel, say if Bob Betters was here, I would feel more comfortable. But as they're not represented by counsel, I prefer continuance.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And that was the motion, to continue and to come back with an easement of access, along with, were there other conditions? I haven't,
Yeah, there's 9 conditions, but we're just continuing it.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
not dealing with that now.
So we have a motion by Ed and a second by Kevin to continue this hearing. Denise?
August 18th, is that too soon? Should be okay.
Motion to continue to... So we have a motion by Ed and a second by Kevin to continue this hearing to August the 18th so that we will have a easement document inserted into the packet. All those in favor? It is unanimous. You're all set. Yes, sir. All right, we did Bartlett, we did that. Now,
We're on Taylor Ave now.
Taylor Avenue, yes. You got the planning board report?
Yeah.
Okay. That we just did?
161.
Yeah, 4161.
Yeah, these,
Okay, our next case will be case number 4172, oh, no,
6-2.
62. Blandino Farmhouse LLC, Morse Engineering. It was continued from May 19th, 71 Taylor Avenue. Who will be presenting? Is the green light on, sir?
Yes.
Thank you. Go right ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Paul Gunn. I'm a registered engineer with Morse Engineering. Here tonight representing Mr. Blandino for the special permit application as required per section 206-2G2 for the raise and rebuild of a dwelling within the floodplain overlay district. This project was previously opened and presented on the May 19th ZBA hearing by Greg Morris of Morse Engineering. At the time, it was brought to our attention that there were several aspects of the site plan that were incomplete, namely the inclusion of the water service and septic system. It was also expressed that the board would like to see some parking spots in accordance with the proposed bedroom count of the new dwelling. That information has since been included on the site plan, and submittals were both made to the Conservation Commission and the Board of Health. Just to provide a quick refresher on the property, this is a 2,826 square foot lot located in the R-20SL district in the floodplain overlay district. There's a FEMA zone, 2 FEMA zones on site, a VE associated with elevation 16 and an AE associated with elevation 14. This was an existing home built in 1930 and is non-compliant regarding FEMA compliance requirements, as well as the left and right sideline setbacks. The lot itself is non-compliant in regards to frontage, width, area, and depth. The applicant is proposing to raise and rebuild the dwelling. This new dwelling would be a 3-story structure elevated on timber piles that would be fully FEMA compliant. I believe this was another change since the last time the board's seen this, is that the vertical separation from the floodplain was increased from 2 to 3 feet. So the top of pile was increased a foot to comply with the new 10th edition regulations for these FEMA zones. The structure itself will provide greater conformity by complying with the left line setback, increasing the right line setback from 3.9 to 4 feet, and complying with the front and rear yard setbacks. Also, as discussed at the previous hearing, the project will propose the dwelling to be sprinklered and also be equipped with fire retardant siding materials. I believe that's all I have. I'll turn it back to the board for questions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I do have a few questions. I see now the septic system on there. So the septic system's under the house. I assuming that there's, one of them is a reserve?
There's no reserve area. It's an upgrade scenario, so we're not proposing new construction.
Okay, because I mean, you know, being under the house, gonna be inaccessible afterwards. Yeah, I see the water line on there. That's another thing that needed to be addressed. On this particular thing, though, where now I see the septic system underneath, I mean, one of my conditions, I do not want to see that enclosed. I don't want to see it petitions, you know, so I am going to put that, or want to, it's up to the board. I'd like to have a condition in there saying there's no panels on it, because one is, maybe there is a chance of methane, one, but the other thing too is this is a flood district, and it's what, 8 foot something, the pilings off the ground. I wouldn't want to see panels that get hit and become missiles the other side of the road, you know, so that's probably my main concerns.
Yep, and just if I could address that, I believe it's not currently the applicant's intention to provide panels below the dwelling, so we would not mind if that was a condition of approval.
Then another thing too was the, David can address it. I know David brought up the parking spaces last time. I do see a square drawn there. It doesn't say parking space, but I know David did have a concern that way.
It's on the bottom left.
Yep.
Anything else, Mike?
No, not right now. Well, actually, no, I'd say that, but now I'm looking at my notes. Okay, so I was just looking at my notes. The other thing too is, there wasn't a lot of documentation on this. He's gonna put fire retardant, I think Jason did address that. They would have to do it in that area anyways, right?
It's correct, because the structure's so close to adjacent lot lines and structures, it's required to be fire retardant siding.
Okay, 'cause I think I remembered that from the first hearing, yep. And then that's it, I think.
Just, the applicant has no problem providing fire retardant siding.
Ed?
I'm fine with it.
David?
No, they've addressed, in my notes, we were missing the plan, which we now have. We were missing the planning board recommendation, which we also now have, so we see what those conditions are. The sprinklers, the fire retardant materials we talked about last time
Yeah,
has
it's
now
there.
been incorporated, and I see it's also in the planning board recommendations. I think in some ways it's unfortunate that, you know, we're heading toward houses on piling 6 feet up. We're gonna look like the Outer Banks in North Carolina and stuff, but that's, and it's interesting having the septic system below the house, but I guess that can work. So I'm okay with it. It's probably not the last time we're gonna see septic systems set between the pilings. I just think that's where we're going.
When the pylons, when the floor joists are 8 feet off the ground,
Yeah.
it's, to your point, Michael, yeah, you can get at it to service it.
I think we've seen them before.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing them, but I think it's the future, and certainly,
I think we have seen it down there before.
so I'm okay with it. I went back to the original package from May 19th, and that had elevations, and they stayed within the 35 feet. They clarified access with the stairs in the back, so I'm okay with it.
Okay. Who else is on?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Not being on this, but
Yes, please.
does 35 feet, does that include the pilings? I mean, I'm not on this, I'm just looking at it, I'm saying, how do you build a 3-story house on 6 or 8-foot pilings and have it remain 35 feet?
Yeah, the definition of height in Plymouth has a calculation that uses grade, and arguably grade is
Right.
at
That's
the
what I
earth,
thought, yeah.
someplace down at the earth, not at the first floor. And so,
In the drawing showed it as 34.9,
Right.
you know, just staying a
Don't make a
couple inches
mistake.
below from grade. So I had the same question.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Kevin? Okay. Anybody else want to talk about it? Have you anything else you would like to add?
No, other than that, in regards to the septic being under the house, both the tanks will be in the front yard, so in terms of yearly maintenance, pumping and the like, that's all accessible from the front yard, not under the structure. So they are certainly becoming a bit more routine, but any yearly maintenance would either have, cast iron covers bolted down at grade or would be in the front yard, so.
Okay. Jason, do you have any concerns? Okay, I await the board's pleasure.
I'll make a motion, we approve case number 4162 with 6 conditions, the one that I was just talking about, that,
No enclosures.
yeah, that panels to enclose the area between supports for the house or storage or otherwise will not be allowed.
I will second that.
Okay. We have and the 5th condition was just no enclosures for the,
There's 6, they can't be enclosed.
There's
between
not
the
a
pilings.
6th.
Huh?
There's not a 6th.
No, he's
No,
adding
I'm
a
adding
6. The planning board has 5.
Yeah, I see the 4 of them.
No, there's
No,
a 5th.
There's a 5th on the next
Oh,
one.
yeah. Yeah. All right, so and that's really not. Okay. So Michael has proposed that we certify this, that we pass this case, Michael, and we have who, Kevin? David.
I second it.
David seconded it, and we have 6 conditions. All those in favor? It is unanimous. Go right ahead.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Is there any other business that needs to come before the board?
Minutes.
Can I, after the minutes, can I ask the board a question?
Yes.
When we're done?
Yes. Yes.
So the last, have we ever granted a case that said that, case that said that an easement cannot be recorded until the butter's appeal period has passed?
I don't know that we've ever used language like that, Ed. And since we already just approved what we did, we can't go back and change it now.
No, we continue.
Yes, yes.
I'm not sure I understand.
But no, to your point, I don't think we ever have.
Thank you.
Okay, the minutes. I gotta find them here.
April 7th. 75. On your
Page,
75.
all right, the minutes for,
I move to accept the minutes of April 7th.
why isn't it coming up? What the heck?
And you know what? You see, if you just go down one
Michael and Kevin, you can't vote on
Right.
these.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're doing,
April 14th.
Mike Leary was absent, and Tom was absent.
So I'll move to accept April 14th.
Second?
all those in favor?
In favor. Yes.
And what have we got?
Pete was absent, Tom was absent.
May 19th.
Tom, you're going to need a note pretty soon.
He needs it now.
Motion to accept the
It's
minutes.
going to be spoken to sternly after the meeting.
Motion to accept the minutes of May 19th.
Second.
All those in favor? It's unanimous.
Can I please request whoever voted on Bartlett to stay? I have a document here.
Yes. Yes, we all need to sign a decision.
I think I was on that.
Okay. Is there any other business to come before the board?
Motion to close.
Motion to
Just say, just a reminder,
Adjourn.
I'll be away next week, on the next meeting.
Okay. Motion to adjourn by Peter. Is there a second, Michael?
Yeah.
All those in favor? Thank you. We are adjourned.